Everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Leah. I am a Tumble Track ambassador, and I work on the education team along with Carrie, who is joining me here today. We are so excited to have you guys here for what's sure to be a super informative and inspiring session. Whether you're joining us live or catching the replay, thank you so much for being a part of this webinar. Today we are here for part 2 of our Compulsory Excellence series, where we're going beyond the skill and diving into elevating compulsory routines as a whole. This is the perfect time to focus on this topic, as some gyms have already had their first meet and are working on improving for the next, and some are preparing to be in front of judges for the first time. So as a reminder for any judges in the audience, this webinar is eligible for 1 hour of CPE credit, and part 3 will be as well. So we love a good educational opportunity. As a reminder, part 1 was not eligible for CPE, but if you missed it, you can find the recording on our events page at tumbletrack.com/events. So before we get started, it's always super fun for us to see where everyone is tuning in from. If you see the chat on the side of your screen, go ahead and pop in there and test it out by dropping in your name, where you're from. And we'd love to hear what role you hold in the gymnastics industry too, whether you're a coach, a judge, a parent, or anyone else who's happy to be here today. Please make use of this chat feature throughout the session by dropping in any questions or comments you might have as well. Carrie and I will be keeping an eye on that to make sure we can let Nicole know if she has a question. We will be doing a Q&A session at the end though as well. We're doing a $250 giveaway, and we will be using that chat to randomly select a winner. So try to be active in there. All right, so without further ado, I am so excited to announce Nicole Langevin, who will be leading us through this session. Nicole is a passionate and experienced gymnastics coach and judge. She has lectured internationally and travels around the world doing choreography as well. On top of that, she's a business consultant, a podcast host, the founder of Precision Choreo, and My Gym Judge. We are super lucky to have her here sharing her knowledge. So Nicole, Carrie, and I are going to give you the stage now, but we'll pop back in for the Q&A and the giveaway at the end. All right, take it away.
Excellent. Thank you so much, guys, and welcome. Welcome back to those of you that were here for part 1, and welcome to those of you that are here for the first time for part 2. Part 1, we took the major elements that seem to have consistent deductions across the board and looked at how to troubleshoot them. Today is going to be going beyond the skills and looking at those, I like to call them kind of sneaky deductions. What are those deductions that are happening if you take all the skills out of the routine: execution, amplitude, landing position, body position? What else are we looking at when it comes to coming up with the final score? And really what it comes down to is these throughout the exercise deductions that will separate those kids that are getting the 9.2, 9.3s from the ones that are getting maybe like the 9.6s and 9.7s. The reality is, once they get to state championships for compulsories, they're all good. They can all have straight legs and pointed toes. They can usually make their routines for the most part. So it's those throughout the exercise deductions that really, really make a difference from our kids that are getting on the podium and our kids that are just missing out. So I want to make sure that everybody's not only aware of them, but also knows actually how to tackle them. So we're going to be going through in Olympic order, so both bars, beam, floor. So beam and floor are going to be a little more thorough because they have so many more throughout the exercise deductions. So we're going to be talking about artistry on both of those events, the throughout the exercise deductions of rhythm throughout, footwork throughout, posture and body line throughout, and then on every event we've also got dynamics. And dynamics is kind of it's a funky thing to try to figure out, but the best way to describe it is, are you doing things that are difficult, which everything in gymnastics is difficult, right? Are you doing things that are difficult and making it look easy? And that's really what dynamics is. A front handspring vault should look like a timer for a front handspring front. A round off rebound should look like it's ready to flip out of or do a back handspring out of. Everything should look like it's ready for the next level. That little bit above and beyond, that's where we're getting dynamics from. I don't know if everything that I said was clear, but I'm talking about dynamics. The routine should look and the skills should look like they are preparations for something for the next step, a little above and beyond, timer for something else, not just making the bare minimum. So if we're talking about vaults, last week, and we can go to the next slide, last seminar, we talked about those major deductions of angle of repulsion, height, distance, and body position, and that they're all kind of snowballed together. And oftentimes, if you can fix the body position and that point of contact strength, all those other things come into play. So we did analyze that a bit last time, but basically when we're talking about the dynamic side of vault, I want you guys to listen to your kids' front handspring vaults, even if they're on the mats, but especially if they're on the table. Listen to the vault. If you can hear them on and off the vault, it's most likely a more dynamic vault than not. What happens a lot is that they hit the vault and they go onto their fingertips and it kind of rolls. And that's where we get too long in support because now they're on a squishy part of their hand. Then our angle gets later and then our height gets lower and then our distance falls too. So if you can hear their vaults, that means they're on their palms and I suggest turning their hands out a little bit. And that's going to give you a better, at least illusion of a dynamic vault. I do want to show our point of contact position. Can you girls get in your handstand shapes? And this is a little review from last time as well, but we want to make sure that they are structurally sound when we hit that vaulting table or those stacked mats. So we want to make sure that we've got our shoulders extended. Look at your hands. Our armpits flat, our rib cage lifted, and then everything else squeezing. And if we're giving something to push against, it's just going to simulate that a little bit more and how strong they have to be when they hit the vaulting table. Go ahead and relax, Allie. So I'm going to have her relax first. Make sure her hands are shoulder width apart. Turn them out slightly. Turning out slightly so you have the palm contact. Relax your shoulders. Get them flat. Once they're relaxed, now push. There we go. If we push too soon, we tend to close the shoulders. So we want to be able to be flat and extended. Now lift the rib cage, and then now squeeze the rest of your body. Good. It doesn't look like a lot, and this is a very strong athlete, and I can see her shaking, and that means she's doing it properly. Good job. Okay, you guys can relax. Okay, so like I said, we did a lot more on vault last time, but that's really the dynamic side of it. Does anybody have any questions before we move on to bars? And you guys can go over the bars. Sound is so much better. Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. Okay, so we're gonna go over to bars. So I wanna point out something for bars. We've got dynamics on bars, which as I said, and we can go to the next slide, Carrie and Leah. Dynamics is, you're doing things that are hard and making them look easy. When it comes to bars, bars is where you can kind of get double hit a little bit when it comes to dynamics, because we have the fact of stopping on bars is going to be 3/10, or the extra swing. So either way, it's 3/10 and there's a max of 6. However, if an athlete is continually stopping in their routine, clearly they're struggling a bit, and then there you go with your up to 2 for dynamics. So they kind of go hand in hand. Then we've got things like those little micro bends. And last seminar, we talked about how to tackle those little tiny arm bends throughout the routine by putting it into the shoulders instead. Those little tiny arm bends, while it's a small deduction every time, it adds up. And then on top of it, because you're bending your arms, you're looking as though you're struggling, and then that tackles dynamics. So dynamics really encompasses a lot of deductions that are already happening. And if you hit past those stops and those extra swings of 6/10, it's still going to affect your dynamics. So you're still getting deducted. So what I want to talk about now is our bare minimum versus above and beyond. So when we're looking at our cast angles, Allie, could you hop up and get into us the front support? Okay. So I want you to show me just a horizontal cast. Excellent. Okay. So I looked at that and I really had no question. That was right there at horizontal. Her shape was really nice. Now, can you go a little bit higher and show me a little rounder upper back? Okay. So right there, there's no bonus for that. But if throughout her routine, she's hitting everything exactly where she needs to, no deductions, that's wonderful. If she's swinging a little bit more, she's showing me a really, really extended position on the top. I'm going to look at that routine and go, wow, she's really flowing through that. She's mastered what she's doing. It's very dynamic. So that's the benefit of going a little bit above and beyond, is that the dynamics of the routine increase. And that's where we're separating. We don't have footwork and artistry and things like that on bars, but we do have the ability to still show mastery in the details by doing things like that. Now, I do want to point out, and I think most people know this, we've got to watch our lowest body part on our cast too. So can you show me a cast where the heels only go at horizontal and the rest doesn't? Okay. So that cast right there, can you do that one more time? She's got her feet are well above horizontal, but her hips and her torso are way, way, way down here. we are always across the board, no matter what level, judging the angle of the height, the angle of the cast by the lowest body part. So really make sure that they're not doing that to try to get up there, because it's not really serving any benefit. And as we talked about last time on these bar routines, shape and straight arms and connecting is always going to score better, and it's also going to be better in the long run. If she does a cast that's a little below the position that she needs, but her shape is great and her form is great, she's only going to get the slight deduction for angle, and the max is 2 on that. If she starts doing this stuff, then I've got the body position, and then I've also got the angle that's going to be down. So now she's got a double doozy of deductions. Whereas if she's just going tight position, that cast will eventually get higher without losing the shape and the body position deduction. So always, always, always go with shape and straight arms versus trying to just get up there. All right. Can we go to tap swing? Right. And just a little point on the cast things. I know this is a compulsory routine, but when we're looking at our optional routines, this is something else to point out. They've got, the cast handstand that they're supposed to get to. And then we've got the, within the 20 degrees for the pirouette and within the 10 degrees for the handstand, right? For no deduction. However, if they're constantly just kind of in there, there's an overall lack of precision in handstands that comes up in that level as well. So I just wanted to point that out to some optional coaches. Okay. Olivia, can we start doing some tap swings? All right. So looking at these tap swings, what I want you guys to focus on is the shape of her backswing, which I think she does really, really well. She's got that hollow to straight shape. Good. All right, you can come down. Go ahead and move that porcupine pad over and get ready to go again. So another thing that I notice on these compulsory bar routines that are getting some big deductions are the shaping on the tap swings. And that back swing on its own is up to 210. So you've got to look at the tap swings almost as the front and the back are 2 different skills. So focusing on that back swing shape is going to make a really big difference. And a lot of the kids are coming so far away from the low bar because they think that it's closer than it actually is. So they're killing their swing by doing that. So they're losing some of that amplitude. And based on the level, you can come down for a second. Based on the level, it'll tell you how high they need to be. So by coming so far away from that low bar, they're killing their swing, they're losing the amplitude, but then they're also breaking their shape, and we're getting a lot of piking, and we're not getting that extension. We're always looking for a straight hollow, somewhere in that straight hollow. So flat hips and upper back round. So if we place that pad there, I think if you guys have something like this, they'll be very surprised that they're not touching it. They always feel like they're closer than they are. Right, go ahead. There you go. Yep. So she is brushing it, and she's keeping a really excellent shape. So the 2 things do very much go hand in hand. All right, Rosanna, can you come over here? All right, so one of the big ones, and this is from level 3 all the way through level 10, we're looking at bar routines, is the squat on, the jump to the high bar, or the jump off. And a lot of times what happens is we're just jumping the feet to the bar and jumping to the high bar. So the first thing I want to tell you guys is I think going to help with the kids is telling them to place their feet on the bar instead of just putting their feet on the bar. I know it's a difference of one word, but placing the feet versus putting the feet, it changes the approach of the foot placement on the bar and makes them more deliberate and mindful of what they're doing, which then creates this mindfulness of the actual stand up and gives them the potential to stand up tight and clean. When their feet just come to the bar, it's almost like they're falling and then trying to catch themselves, and it all snowballs. So we've got these deductions of, they've got to come tight away from the bar before the squat on. Doesn't have to be a certain height, but they do have to come up tight. They've got to be clean coming into the squat on with their feet together, their knees together. It's nice if they're pointed until the last second that they step on. Then they've got to stand up clean with balance, but also rhythm. And then they've got to jump with a straight hollow to catch the bar. It's a lot of stuff. And it all happens from the initial foot placement on the bar. Rosanna, can you show us? Rosanna's going to do the level 3 squat on jump off with a nice tight straight hollow when you jump off. Good job. Don't worry about sticking. Very nice. So when you look at that, you can see a very clear, she squatted on, she stood up, and she did a stretch jump. That is in the level 3 routine this cycle, and it's so beneficial because the jump to the high bar gets not only so many deductions, but it also technically causes so many problems because by the time they catch the high bar loose, that swing into the long hang is over. Even your kids that are not doing compulsory, they're doing Excel and they're jumping and doing long hang pullover. If they can't get in the air in a proper tight shape, they've missed out on the first half of the skill. That jump to the high bar is a backswing. So they should be catching in a backswing. So level 3 coaches, so important that you're treating the jump off just as important as the squat on. So I do want to show a little bit. Rosanna, can you pull the perfect placement bar in front of the green mat? Right where the black line is. So I just want to show a little tactic here to start with your little ones when they're learning squat ons, but also with your level 10s who, I hate to say it, but like some of these kids, it's so hard to see them do Tkachevs and bails and then they wobble on a squat on or fall and they don't make nationals. So it's almost like the full turn on beam, like they make their flight series and they miss their full turn. We've got to make sure that we're giving that the attention it needs because a fall is a fall is a fall. So this drill works with your higher level ones too. Rosanna, can you go on a front support on the perfect placement bar, please? Yep. Okay. Then we're going to tip this up. Okay, go ahead and a support. So we want to make sure that we're training the core. The whole thing is your core tight when your feet land on the bar, when you stand up and when you jump? If it's not, the whole thing's over. It's a nice tight core, and you're going to place your feet on the bar. Go ahead, place them. So what I don't want is this, drop your butt to your heels. I don't want that. Once the butt bounces on the heels, then it's just, it's a hope thing instead of a being in charge thing. So we want to be right about here. Good, I'm just going to hold you here, okay? Squeeze your belly, tap your knees. Stand up and tap your knees. Yep, squeeze the belly. Yep. And now tap your thighs with straight arms. And now clap in front of you with straight arms. All that action is keeping the core really, really tight and setting her up for a proper position. And then pretend that's the high bar and grab. Yep. Okay, good job. So ensuring that that core is engaged from the stand up all the way through to the jump. If it's not going to happen. All right. Do we have any questions on those aspects of bars? You guys can pick up a lot of tense by addressing this stuff. And if you do have more questions, we will do a Q&A at the end. So just make a note of it. But we're going to move over to balance beam. So if we can put the beam slide up, that would be great. You guys good? Okay. All right. So for beam, before I get into this, how's my audio? You good? I don't see Carrie, so I think we're okay. Yay. All right. Thanks, Nadia. So last time we talked about the major skills. So on beam, we talked about how do we get that cross handstand to vertical? How do we get the side handstand controlled and to be holding its shape all the way down? So today we're going to talk about some of the details on beam outside of the skills. So we've got our rhythm and tempo and our artistry. We've got some aspects of the turn. And then we've got the footwork and artistry and posture and body line. So I want to just take a second and explain for beam and floor, no matter what level you're doing. When we're judging routines, we judge all of the skills for body position, execution, amplitude, and landing. And then once that is all judged, that's kind of got its own set of deductions, then we have to look at the choreography. And the choreography is judged essentially as one skill, one big skill. So while we can take a half-tenth every time a foot is flexed on a skill, we can't take a half-tenth every time the foot is improper in choreography. But we do make a note of it. And at the end of the routine, we can take up to 3/10 based on how the footwork was throughout the entire routine. So if it's constantly showing low releves and flexed feet and floppy feet, steps that don't have any meaning, where they're just kind of backing up into the corner, all of that can contribute to that up to 3/10. And that's a lot. Then we're looking at overall posture and body line. So throughout the routine, are we showing closed shoulders when the arms are over the head? Do we have proper posture? Are we doing things like kicks and buckling the bottom knee? All of those things that break the expectation of a body line and nice posture, that's going to come into play as well. Again, it's only in the choreography, and that's up to 3/10. Then and this is beam and floor. Then we've got our artistry. So artistry is going to be, are you putting on a show? Are you doing something that is captivating? Are your eyes, if you're on floor, are your eyes off the floor and you're doing a performance? Are you incorporating every part of your body? Are you being very specific with every part of your body and where it is supposed to be at all times? So in compulsory, we don't have as much leeway to be creative, but we do still have the ability to be extremely artistic. And so that's going to come with head positions, extension, just these little nuances while we're still within the text can still separate a routine from being kind of artistic to very artistic. So we're going to go ahead and start. Actually, we can take the slide away. We're going to start and just look at our overall body line and posture on beam. Girls, can you go ahead and face that way? I just want you to stand and releve with your arms over your head. Okay. Thank you, Olivia. Yep. Rosie, relax your ribs. I'm going to have them do it kind of long on purpose. Rosie, relax the rib cage a little bit. Okay. So we've got in the front Olivia. So she's got a little bit of a shoulder angle, as you can see. And then we've got Allie in the middle. Allie, can you put your arms back a little bit? There we go. She's pretty straight with nice posture. Rosanna, fingers, good. Ribs in, arms back. Okay, so Olivia in the front, I'm going to give you a solution here. I want you to open your arms a little wider and now pull them back. And now close your ribs. Now pull your arms. There we go. Open your arms up a little bit more and pull them back. Yep. So that's it, Olivia. Good. So now she has a straight body line. Very nice. So, you know, in these compulsory routines, you guys can relax. I know we don't get to decide what those, you know, what the arm positions are. We don't get to change the choreography. But what happens on beam, because it's sideways, is it's so obvious when there's shoulder angle issues. But you know what's not obvious? The difference between their arms being here or here. The judge does not care between here and here. But when they can see the difference between this and this, that's going to change it. So I really encourage you guys to look at those kids that are having some shoulder angles and just encourage them to open up a little bit because they can usually get more extension. Can you guys face that way again? And now lift your arms out to the side. Okay, so they're very well trained and did it the right way. So you can see they're not just having their arms to the side. They are above horizontal and back. That's what you want to go for when the arms are in side position on beam. Close those ribs a little bit, Rosanna. Good. Lift the chins up. Thumbs are down. Fingers are back. Good. Relax. Now I want you guys to put your arms to the side, just right here to the side. Okay. A little bit forward, Rosanna. This is what we get a lot, which is fine. There's nothing terrible about where their arms are right now, but they're losing that openness and that extension. Now go ahead and press up and back, guys. Press up and back. And you can see the difference. So a routine that's constantly in here is going to start incurring those posture and body line deductions. And it also connects to artistry as well. So you can see how much more aesthetically pleasing it is when the arms come up and back. So you can take your whole routine and just look for shoulder angles and look for side positions and make those adjustments. And the routine from beginning to end is really going to transform just because of changing right in there. That whole routine is viewed from the side. Okay, turns. So turns, even though they are a dance element, it's really helpful to teach it almost robotically. If the arms don't have a really clear, strict path, we're going to get a lot of inconsistencies in the turn. Turns on beam they're tricky, right? We get, like I said earlier, we get the kids that all hit their flight series and miss their full turn. So we want to make sure that we're giving them the ability and the tools that these full turns can be really crystal clear and also saved if they need to be saved. And that happens by knowing exactly where every part of the body needs to go. Oftentimes I see a lot of kids do a turn and then see how it is and then step out of it instead of tackling the ending position before they're even there. So if we think of our acro skills, right? When a kid is coming out of a cartwheel, we don't want them to land the cartwheel and then see how it is and then finish. When they're upside down in the cartwheel, they should already be having the body prepared to land. They know where their arms are going to go. They put them there. But on our leaps and turns, oftentimes that's not happening. So I want to treat the turn the same way. I want them to know as they're coming out of the turn, where exactly are their arms going? Where are they looking? Where's their foot going? So we're going to do that by designating and training the arm paths. So can you guys face that way, please? All right. So Rosanna, raise your hand. All right. So Rosanna, wave your hand. So Rosanna is going to do the level 3 version. Allie and Olivia, can you switch spots? Not that it really matters. Olivia's going to do 4 and Allie's going to do 5. So first I want everybody to put their arms in the preparation position for the turn. Okay, so that arm that's on the side, just like when we were standing, is going to be slightly above horizontal and slightly back. So Olivia, lift your left arm higher, please. Good. It should be behind the ear. Oh, no,
Nicole, this is a different reason. Can you tilt the camera down a little bit so we can see the beam? Thanks. Your sound is great.
Great. I got so nervous when I saw you. Okay, so the arm that's out to the side, we want that behind the ear because when we're doing turns, we never want anything coming this way. So this arm that's in the back is going to start in the back and it's going to lift behind the ear. So to make sure that that path is clear. This arm that's in front needs to open behind the ear first and then lift up. So that's that initiation of movement before the lift. So never during this whole time are any of our arms going to come in front of our ears. This one's behind, this one gets behind, and they reach behind. All right, so we have position 1. Show me and, which is the lead. And. Rosie, do your and with your left. Yep. 2, arms up. You don't have to do legs. 3 is open. 4 is down. Good. All right, so let's do just the arms this time. Ready? We're going 1 and 2, 3, 4. Again, go ahead and lift and twist a little bit now. So what I want them to do is lift through their rib cage on 2, and it should cause a little bit of a twist. Ready? And 1 and 2, 3, 4. One more time. Ready? And 1 and 2, 3, 4. That's okay. Good. All right, and we're going to add the feet. So Rosanna is doing level 3. So their turn is going to finish in releve, then the heel drops, then they step, then they close. But she's not going to actually do the turn. I want to make sure that she's got all the positions before we add that last ingredient. Olivia and Allie, scooch up a little bit. Rosie, scooch up a little bit. Okay, so you're doing 1 and 2, drop 3, right? Okay, ready? 1 and 2, releve, drop, open 3, close 4. Good, do another one. I want you to lock on 3, okay? Like hold 3 before you go to 4, okay? Ready? Yep, hold the 3. I'll tell you when to go to 4. And 1 and 2, arms in. 3, freeze. That's okay, go again. 3, hold it, hold it, hold it, go, stay there, stay there, stay there. Ribs tight. 4. One more time. Hold 3 until I tell you. That was better. Go ahead. 1 and 2. Lift up your elbow. Drop. Open 3 and freeze. So this position right here is so important. If we're not training this moment right here, we have no ability to ever save a turn. This is the moment where the weight is coming off of the leg that just did all the work turning, and that second leg is helping it out. So I want to make sure that they're really sturdy there, and then the close is the finish. So it's the equivalent to landing a back tuck and then pressing finish. We want that landing position to be really, really strong. All right, Rosie, you can scooch back. You guys are doing arms over your head for 4 and 5, and you don't drop your heel. Okay? No turn. Ready? And 1 and 2, freeze 3. Stay there. Tight ribs. Arms a little higher, Olivia. And 4. Good. One more time. And go 1 and 2, 3, freeze. Ribs in. Nice. Relevates. Good. Close 4. Good. Okay. So if they can be really, really consistent with that, then they have a path. They know where they're going, and we're not waiting to see how it is and then stepping out and causing a lot of deductions. Okay. Are we good? I see that thing about the camera, but I think that was earlier. Okay. Does anybody have any questions on the turn before I move on? Okay. All right. Now, if you guys step down, Rosanna, come over here. So when we're looking at the overall rhythm of the routine and artistry, and if you notice, the footwork, the rhythm, the posture, all of that is connected to the artistry. It's hard to have a routine that is beautiful and artistic when the footwork is sloppy and the posture isn't there and it's dragging. So they do lend themselves nicely together. And there's one little tactic I wanted to share with you, and this works really well with compulsories and with optionals. And it's not a perfect science with her right now because it's the first time she did it, but I think this is actually good because it's realistic to you guys coming in the gym and trying it. But basically, rule of thumb in any beam routine, if you had like a tempo going, every 2 or 3 times that beat hits, something should happen with the head. And we're on beam, right? So on floor, we want it like back and twist and down and all of that stuff. But on beam, we're not going to do all of that. And it's really easy to get a beam routine where the head is just completely static. And maybe on a finish, the chin comes up. But it takes away from the artistry when there's a whole part of the body that's not moving at all. So if we can go every 2 or 3 beats and have even just a little tilt, even a tilt down, because a tilt down is going to result then in a lift. A lift up is going to come down. So if you can get them trying to get into that mode, it's going to make a difference. So we're just going to do a little experiment right now with a level 3 routine. Rosie, can you go to the back beam? Good. So I'm not doing on the skills, obviously. Good job.
Nicely
All right, Carrie's
done.
back.
I'm back, but I'll use this opportunity to also point out a question.
Yeah.
Hannah asked, how about kicking the foot out at the end of the turn, or do you need to hold and finish turn in passe? And also the step.
So in the level, there's no requirement to kick out. That's where we start getting into that dynamics thing. So they do need to finish the turn in releve. Even in level 3, they have to complete the half in releve, then drop. Level 4 and 5, they complete in releve, never drop the heel step lock. So in those, if they're doing what's required of them and finishing the turn in high releve with their foot in clean passe, then they want to kick and step out. It's just going to lend to the dynamics of it, but it's not required.
Yeah. And I'm betting, Nicole, one more fix of the static will send us home for the rest of the
Okay, well, we're headed over to floor, so I'll do that as I'm looking.
Good time.
Floor side. Okay.
Sounds good.
Good. Okay, excellent. All right. So we are now on floor, and last time, as I said, we did skills, and now we're doing the in-between. So we talked about those deductions that are really, really common that are happening on leaps, on round of back handsprings, and on back extension rolls. So today we're going to talk about footwork, kind of more than anything. There are some major spots in these compulsory routines where I feel like I'm almost always seeing a footwork issue, to the point where when a kid actually does it proper, it really stands out and makes an impact. So we're going to start with the beginning of these compulsory routines. And girls, can you stand up, please? Okay, come walk towards the camera and just show me that final position that we talked about. Step back a little bit. We want to see your feet. All right, go ahead. All right, this position right here, and judges, I know you know what I'm talking about. So we have it in level 3, we have it in level 4, we have it in level 5. That front foot needs to be turned out. And a little artistic thing to think about with the kids is if you have them try to pull their pinkies, that's where you get that nice arm position that we're looking for. It's a little extended out here. That foot, good. But that front foot being turned out, chins up, that front foot being turned out at the beginning of the routine in level 3, 4, and 5 sets the stage. And almost every kid steps and turns their foot in, especially, you guys can relax, especially in level 5, they have that turning steps into it. And because of the direction that they're turning, it's really, really common for them to turn their foot in. Yes, it will change the routine if right away you can just show them that part. So we're going to break this down. So levels 3 and 4, let's back up. And we're going to, Allie, you can scooch to the side for a second. And we're going to start with, you can stand up. We're going to start with the tendu. Okay, so I want to make sure that every moment of this routine is picture perfect. So I don't want to just have them do a chassé step, step pose. I want to make sure they're starting in a proper position as well. So arms above, horizontal and back, thumbs down, fingers back, rib cage in, chins up. And we're doing a chassé that has as much effort as doing a really high stretch jump. Okay, go ahead, chassé, huge, step, step, pose, freeze. And turn it. And this is how tedious it is to coach these routines. Every single time they go, I stop, fix the foot, and someday they just go there, and the gates of heaven open, and it's a beautiful day. I remember when it happened last year. So if you keep on that, it will become natural, but it's just not a natural thing to do for them, especially with that turning part, which I'll show you right now. Okay, you guys can scooch over. Allie? So Allie's going to show us for level 5. Come this way a little bit. All right, and start here. Were we going that way? Go that way. There we go. Okay. Oh, I see what you're doing. Come back. You're good. Go ahead. All right. So we're going to start with the open. So I'm going to make sure that she's in a plie tendu position with her arms above, horizontal and back. Same thing we were talking about before, ribs in and chin up. And go ahead and close. Arms in. Lock the releve really, really high. It's so easy for them to start getting loose in here and the heels dropping. So this moment needs to be really clear. And then pivot again, arms up. Tall. Good. And lunge. Circle this way. That's okay. Pull out a little bit and thank you. Good. Okay, come back again. Now I want you to face the camera in the tendu. Yep. Okay, you're good. So we have this position a lot in all of the levels of the compulsory routine. And what I want you to look at in that side tendu is that foot. So here's another thing that is a overall footwork thing that can start to add up. And we see it done incorrectly a lot. So when it's done properly, it stands out. And that is, if they put their knee to the ceiling and weight on the toe, they break the line of their foot. It's just aesthetically not pleasing. So we want to make sure, no, you can come here, that there's either barely weight on this foot, so put your weight here, to not break that toe point line, or if they don't have a great toe point, turn it in slightly, because then you're going to create a better space right here. What we really want to avoid is that. That happens so often. And while it's not a deduction on its own, it's going to contribute to that overall footwork. And it can also, affect artistry as well. Okay, so go sideways. Let's do that turning section one more time. Go that way more. More, because I want them to see your foot. Yep. I'm just going to break it down nice and slow. Extend and turn. And turn. And circle back and step, freeze. Pinkies, that was a good correction. And lift. Good. So I could have them think of getting their picture taken at every moment. So I'm finding the moments that get kind of sloppy, which we'll go into the floor section in a minute, and just making them picture perfect moments. Then they can work through them and they'll be clean. But if we're trying to clean them as they're moving, it takes a lot longer, put it that way. So while it's about artistry and fluidity and moving, if we don't have the pieces really clean first, it's hard to connect them and make them clean when they're fluid.
I came up with kind of a silly thing to help compulsory athletes with their posture. So silly because it just seems like such an easy fix and it took me forever to figure it out. But we know gymnasts love stickers, whether it's on a sticker chart or they get one at the end of class or something. And I had all of my little level 3s I put a little star sticker like right here. And I said, I have to be able to see your sticker the whole time. And all of a sudden, all of them have this beautiful posture. So sometimes it's a silly fix like that.
Super fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I couldn't help it while Nicole was clapping through that beam presentation. My head, I don't know if any of you were sitting at your computers lifting your head up, but I couldn't help but react to that as well.
Mm-hmm. I see Melissa's comment, the flex foot going into the split. That one, I tell them to glue their big toes to the floor because they have their good leg in front and their back leg behind them. And that good leg, they want to point their toes so hard that their big toes on the floor. And as they slide out, they're trying to keep them on the floor the entire time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it looks like, hi, Nicole.
Oh.
Yes. Are we good?
Yeah, we're back in action.
Okay. All right. We're moving on like it never happened.
It's like a commercial break.
The jump half turn and jump full turn. So those are often overlooked and they are jumps. So they're susceptible to up to 2/10 in amplitude. So we got to make sure those girls are jumping really high, also extending through their toes and bodies. And then when they come out and rebound, that they're pointing their feet. And then when they land in the kneeling position, that the front foot is turned out. That's another footwork moment. So what I want you guys to do right now is just stretch jump, rebound to your knee, no turning. Point and find it. And then fix your front foot. Good. Okay. So once we make sure that that part is happening in natural, then we go ahead and add the turn. Rosanna and Olivia, go ahead and do the jump half. So Rosie, turn around backwards. Olivia, turn around backwards. Yep. And I want you to try to think as you're doing the jump half that you're trying to touch the ceiling in the air. It's not about spinning. It's only a half. So if they need to feel like they're reaching through their ribs to make it as high as possible. Go ahead. Really high. Squeeze and find it. Fix the foot. Yep. And by fixing the foot every time, it will eventually land there. If we let it slide and don't say anything and tell them after, it's not going to start to become natural. So Allie, come on in for the jump full. The jump full for level 5, it's harder than we think it is, right? They kind of like get a little wonky and sometimes rebound off in another direction. So a nice way to think about this is going up on the half and then coming down on the half instead of jumping and spinning. The jumping and spinning, they don't need that much momentum to do a jump full turn. They need to be able to have enough time in the air and not to be spinning. They rise on the half and lower on the half. Can you do one where you jump and spin? Just spin. Okay. Now I want you to do a really high jump half. Just reach for the ceiling, jump half. Good. One more, and I want you to try to like get some hang time. Really, really stay up there. Up. There you go. Now do a jump full with that same effort. Don't add any spin. Just on the way down, half turn. Up, down. Up, down. So that discussion of just feeling the rise and the fall. Now go ahead and do jump full into, they can still see you. Jump full into the rebound to your knee. Turn it out. Okay. There it is. Good. Okay. And then lastly, the floor section. And I think somebody commented on this. So the sliding into the split part. This is another one where we want it to be really fluid. But if we start with it being fluid, we get a kind of a big mess. So I'm going to take the artistry and the fluidity out for a second, be really strong with my positions, and then have them move through it a little quicker. All right, girls, go ahead and go to a kneeling position. Front foot. You were right, Rosie. Front foot. Okay, so anytime the foot is flat, it is turned out. Rule of thumb, not on skills, but in choreography. The foot is flat on beam and floor, it is turned out. So just find those moments. So this is another one. They have 2 times that they're on their knees. All right, and I want you to slide to split. And I think Leah was talking about this, thinking of their toes being on the floor, sliding the whole time, because we do get a lot of funky feet. But the other thing I like to tell them is to just watch their foot. Yes, we want a big shin lift at the end, but if they watch their foot, they are more likely to keep it pointed or at least correct it if it doesn't. The other thing that happens is if they're watching their foot, they're looking down for a moment and then up, which actually adds more movement. Excuse me. All right, go ahead. Look at your foot to slide and then chin up to finish. Point that foot. Good. Now, as we go to our bellies, we're going to quickly close the heels. Go. Belly and squeeze. Heels tight. This is a really important moment that oftentimes gets missed. So I want to isolate them in it, but I also want them to expedite getting their legs closed. I think some of the sloppiness comes along because they're taking too long to close their legs, and then it's not as tight and crisp as it could be. So I focus on a tight leg close there, and then flat back pike, look at your feet, go. Flat back pike, look at your feet. Squeeze your knees, hands back, Ellie. Point your feet harder, Rosanna. Look at your legs, look at your legs, look at your legs. And bring that foot over, turn it out, and stand up. Freeze. And fix that. Fix that foot. Fix that foot. Turn the foot out. Good. Fingers, fingers, fingers. Okay, go a little quicker, go. Turn the foot out, arms up, and slide and chin, and close. Squeeze. Pike, over, turn out, stand. Good. Okay. All right. And now the very last thing I want to show, and we're going to just talk about the entries and entries into the skills and exits. And I'm going to use the handstand forward roll as the cue here. You guys can actually scooch over. I'm going to have Rosie do this one. So when they're very, very beginners and we're doing like the level 2 and 3 routines, it's really, really helpful if you choreograph all of their entries the same way that you're choreographing the rest of the routine. Not only does it make them look cleaner as far as just like the overall vibe of the routine, but it also keeps them consistent. And then when we start going into harder skills, that stuff becomes kind of like natural movement, which is what we want. So instead of saying, here, we'll go this way, handstand forward roll. So I don't want you to do all the stuff that we do. Put your hands down. Put your hands down. Just stand normal. Okay. I just want you to like step into a handstand forward roll. Go. Okay. So the handstand forward roll itself was pretty good, right? Now come back. Now I'm going to show mastery, and I want her to feel mastery. So we're actually going to start with tendu, ribs in, open shoulders, hands facing in. That's how specific I'm going to be. And what's great here is that this ribs in, open shoulders, go ahead and close your feet. Look up, is also her handstand shape. It's also the vault shape that we did at the very beginning. It's the same exact thing. Go ahead, tendu. Ribs in, open shoulders, hands facing in, and hold, and mountain climber freeze. And then go handstand roll, show it, and leap. Ribs in, open shoulders, and finish. Yep. So that's where we get that really, really pristine, clean look in these routines, is putting as much emphasis on those little positions, those entry positions, as well as the exits and the finishes. Okay. All right, we did pretty good on time. I am open and ready for any questions that anybody has.
Awesome, Nicole. Whew. I know there was a couple of people. Thank you for working through all of the static. I'm not sure what's going on with that, but we'll certainly figure it out for part 3, right?
Yes, I was going to say, clearly technical difficulties happen, but much like gymnastics, things don't go absolutely perfect all the time. But I do feel like this content helped us get a little closer. So thank you. Yeah. And thank you, Rosanna, Olivia, and Allie. Thank you so much for your participation today.
Later, guys.
Awesome. So that was super, super helpful, especially just to see all 3 of you in a line. You guys did great today. So thank you. I do want to give a shout out to Dunn's Gymnastics in Connecticut as well, because that's where Nicole is tuning in from. So we appreciate that they're allowing you to use their space. But let's look through the chat and let's see what questions we have. I know I saw one. I think it was Nadia that said, "What skill in the compulsory routines do you feel like you see improper posture and angles the most?" So is there like a couple of big skills?
I mean, I think the back extension roll is probably the biggest one. That's where I tend to spend a lot of my time. I know as a judge, it can get hit so hard, and there's so many things that can go wrong with it. But then as a coach, it's such an important skill because bars. And so if the back extension rolls aren't taught properly and they're not able to be done properly, we really don't have a chance of doing our clear hip handstands and our giants. So, but back to the compulsory side of it, we've got, are they hitting vertical? What is their body position? Are their arms bending? Is their head out? How is their execution? There's so many things in that skill. So I definitely encourage people to take a lot of time working on that.
Yeah, I know there is a deduction for the front pass for like failure to create momentum or acceleration. Can you share what the deduction is for that? And do you suggest working through the shapes and everything first because that adds up to more, or is momentum more important to you?
The front pass?
Mm-hmm.
The front pass is tricky because we're actually like having them speed up and then having to control and then speed up again. And when I say that, I mean in between the cartwheel and the back extension roll, because the back extension roll really is a power skill. It's called a roll, but it really is a power skill. They should be slapping and popping off their hands. But no, I would always say, just like bars, always shapes first, get the positions proper, and then work through them. Otherwise, they're trying to gain momentum at any way possible. And that's where we start sitting forward on the front handspring and buckling the legs and things like that. So separating the skills for sure. Also working the front handspring or front walkover, whatever we're calling it, going uphill as well, just to try to get them to be lifting tall through the skill as well. But I wouldn't start with the momentum. I think that happens when they're doing it properly. You know, they sit forward because they think it's going to make them go forward. It doesn't. So if we take that idea out and say, just stay open, 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 well, what happens when you stay open? You actually go faster. So the momentum happens from doing it properly.
Yeah, I agree. This one has a little bit more to do with, I'd say, the culture with you and your gymnast. So Deb said, any helpful hints on how to speak to the gymnasts that roll their eyes when we keep stopping and correcting the exact body parts? So I guess the gymnasts that are a little bit annoyed by the nitpicking.
I mean, that's a gym culture thing, you know, but I think, you know, taking the attitude as a coach of, and teaching them, you get what you put into it. It's your gymnastics. I'm here to support you. So if I mean, you guys are perfect, so you wouldn't do that, right? But I mean, I would say, you know, the thought is, okay, you clearly don't want to do this, so I'm not going to make you. End of story. I don't know. I think if you have to reprimand somebody or tell them to be respectful, they're not in the place that they want to be. So that's kind of it. You know, if you would like my help, I'm here, but I can't really make you want to not roll your eyes. There's something else going on. And that's the thing too. Like you know, a lot of kids I think do, and I know we're going off on another tangent here, but just because they're good at gymnastics doesn't mean they need to do competitive gymnastics. And I want people to really like think about that for a second, because we tend to put kids in this special group because they can have straight legs and pointed toes, but that doesn't mean that they have the personality or the desire to be in a situation where somebody is correcting their posture and their positions. It takes a certain kind of person to want to do that, and it's not just because you're good at gymnastics. So some kids might need to be good at gymnastics and do it for fun.
Yeah, I think it's important that they always know that, like, hey, you know, you started doing this because you loved it, because it made you happy, because it was fun, you know, so putting that like internal motivation back into them, I think is super important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Carrie, did you see any other questions in there?
I was looking. I mean, the chat was so active and fun with comments. I don't think I caught another one in my search.
I answered the turn question. Somebody's asking on which foot. So you're going to turn on your favorite leg and lift your other one.
Mm-hmm. Oh, actually, I just saw one drop in. Training straight arms. I have kids complain that they don't like to or they don't know how to maintain straight arms on bars or in the backwards rolls. Any tips?
For bars, I would say watch the first webinar. That was
yeah, we did touch on that actually.
Yeah, we talked about it a lot. We did talk about it in back extension rolls too, but Rosie, you guys can scoot up. Rosie, can you just lay on your back there though? So one is just a method of spotting them for straight arms, but then the other one is going to be just kind of the way that you talk to them about it. So for the younger kids, like I have them stand here like this, come push on their arms, make sure they're straight. And then I have them look at their arms, and right before they roll, they say, "Not today, elbows." And it just like, it's adorable. But it also just like gives them this little like last minute, you know, reminder. But the whole idea is if you really, truly just could not bend your arms, like if you just decided no matter what happens, I'm not bending my arms, the rest of the body will then eventually figure it out. But that's number one. And some kids, it's like, you got to put them in a situation like, what if something, you know, you never ever get to have ice cream again, like whatever. Put them in a situation where you just can't bend your arms. But it's okay if you don't go to handstand, if you fall over, all of that stuff's okay. Just do not bend your arms no matter what. Then we can start working on the rest. So I always will kind of like value the straight arm and the fall because you decided not to bend them. The other thing is just teaching the power skill. So hitting the side of the pinkies to the floor before the head hits. That gives them enough power to keep them straight. And then the last one is finding the moment of weakness and strengthening it. So Rosie, scooch that way even more so we can really see you. And do a candlestick. Okay, and I'm gonna push against her hands a little bit. Nope, but you do your hair's in the way. Hands this way. So I'm gonna push and make sure that her arms are nice and tight. And then I'm gonna pull her up right through here, not let her change a thing. Open your hips a little more, head in. This is the moment they wanna bend. So I'm gonna hang out here. And then I'm gonna bring her over a little bit more. And I'm gonna rock her right in here. And just show her that she does not need to bend her arms. All through these are the moments where they bend. Good.
Yeah, that was great. Okay, I do know we are a little bit over our hour time slot. So if there were any other questions in the chat, we can look at those, make sure Nicole sees those. And then we are going to provide her email, my email, Carrie's email at the end. So if you want to reach out to her with other questions, I'm sure she'd be happy to answer them. But yeah, following our event today, make sure you connect with Tumble Track on our various social media platforms. We post a ton of educational content, drill ideas, and super creative ways to use our products. But yeah, it's time for our giveaway now. So Nicole, can you pick a number between 1 and 50? I'm going to scroll through the chat and then just randomly stop.
You guys pick a number between 1 and 50 together. Pick it up quick. Ooh. They said 43.
43. Okay, give me a second. Okay. Erica Sherwin, can you drop your email in the chat? Congratulations, you are our winner today. So excited. So yeah, go ahead and drop your email. We'll send you your $250 gift certificate. Thank you for participating so much today. I saw so many questions from you. All right. So next, I just want to introduce our sales team, which I actually recently joined as well. So myself, as well as these awesome individuals, are available via phone or email to help you build your dream equipment list and answer any questions you might have about our products. Yep, that is the end of our event today. So thank you all so much for attending our webinar. Lucky for us, we get to hang out with Nicole one more time for part 3 on November 18th. So keep an eye out in your email for that link and spread the word to your friends. So Nicole, thank you again for your incredible content, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you guys so much. Shoot me an email.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.